Okay, welcome to my second video in this series of creating an IK handle tool joint system with a two-legged mech. And this video, what we're going to do, we've already created the joints in my previous video. This video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to create a walk sequence with a great technique that I learned a few years ago, and I haven't seen any tutorials on it. At least I haven't found any that do it this way, but I feel like this is very simple and a great technique to get a professional looking walk sequence for a two-legged mech that has an IK handle and joint system. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is let's go to that side view, and I'm going to create something called I'll go to the NURBS primitives here, and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to create a square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a box and drag that square out so that it surrounds my mech. Okay? And I'm then going to add some frames to my scene. So I definitely want to see 300 frames instead of 24. So type in 300 and press enter. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by parenting this square to my joints. So I have the square selected, and remember it's a few different pieces, so make sure we're getting all of it. If you have, you can hold shift and select all four parts of that square. And then I'm going to drag I'm going to get close here so you can see. I'm going to hold shift and drag a box around the parent joint. And I'm going to press P. And what that has done is it has parented, so wherever the mech moves, the square is going to go along with. And that's what I want. Okay, so next, now that I have 300 frames, I'm going to go to frame 1, and I'm going to take a look at the perspective view here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my mech with the move tool all the way to the right. Okay, and then I'm going to press S, and that's going to set a keyframe. You can see the red line there is setting a keyframe on frame 1. Now I'm going to go to frame 300, and I'm going to move my mech forward all the way this way. Now don't be concerned that we're losing the legs. We're going to losing the feet. We're going to fix that soon. I'm going to press S at 300. It's telling that mech to go all the way over there. So my animation looks like this right now. Okay, that's the length that this mech is going to walk. Okay, I'm going to go to frame 1, and I'm going to move my two legs. I can drag a box and get the right and the left. I'm going to move them back towards the mech. And let's go to our side view now, because what we want to do is I want to put this mech into its first stride at frame 1. So I'm going to move, how about the left leg is going to be the back leg to begin with. So how far back do we move this leg? Well, when I move this leg, full extension would be here before it starts to fall apart. But a mech with full extension may not look very real. As you know, we walk, we don't fully extend our knee joint when we walk. We keep some flex. So to make this look more real, I'm going to still keep some flex. So if this is the breaking point right here, full extension, I'm going to go a little bit less than full extension. And that's going to be my back leg length. So how do I match that every time? I'm going to take and drag a little box around this square, and I'm going to move it so that it is lined up right against the back of my left leg. And now let's take a look at the right leg. And notice when I'm moving my feet, I'm only selecting my letters. Those are the handles. So let's find out what full extension is for forward walking, the forward foot, and it would be right here before it starts to fall apart. But again, I want to keep some flex. So I'm going to hold it back, bring it back a little bit to keep that flex here. And that's the longest or the furthest that I want my forward foot walking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that line from my square, and I'm going to line it up against the front of that foot. So now what I need to do is keyframe both of these legs. So I'm going to take the R and I'm going to press, I'm at 0 here, or frame 1. I'm going to press S to set that keyframe. And the left leg, I'm also going to press S to set that keyframe. Okay, so I'm in my first stride at frame 1. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to start to scrub ahead on my timeline, and I'm going to look at this line, the back line, and I'm going to wait until it hits the back of my right foot. So when it bumps up against my right foot, I'm going to stop, and that's, in my case, that's frame 66. I'm going to move my left leg and let it match up against the line for the front of this square, and I'm going to press S. So my left leg is now in the forward position up against that line, and let's not forget to keyframe the right leg, which is up against the back of that line, and I'm going to press S. Let's pan over here, and I'm going to do the next one. I'm going to scrub ahead until that line, that back NURBS square line, meets up against the back of my left foot. I'm going to move my right foot to match up the front of that line and press S. Don't forget to keyframe the left leg and press S. Next, let's pan over. Let's try that again. I'm going to scrub ahead until the back of that NURBS square meets up against my right leg. I'm going to move the left leg forward to meet up with the front of that square line. And I'm going to press S to set that keyframe. Don't forget the R. I'm going to press S to set that one. I'm going to scrub ahead until it meets again. I'm going to move the right forward to meet that line. Press S, and don't forget to keyframe this foot, S. Okay. Moving forward again, scrubbing until it hits the back. Move the left leg forward. Press S. And let's keyframe this, S. Just a few more. Scrub it ahead, it meets there. This goes over. I'm going to press S. And keyframe the left. Again, moving forward. Meet up that line, press S. Right leg, press S. Okay. Against here. Moving the right leg forward. S. Keyframe the left leg too, press S. Okay, next, the last one, looks like the last one we're over here. I'm just going to match up. Maybe just keep it right here. Yeah. And I'm going to keyframe that last foot. Perfect. Okay, so if I zoom out, go back to 1, and I scrub, and I show you, this is what we have right now. We have a walking mech, but if you notice, the feet are sliding. So we don't want the feet to slide. When we walk, we lift our legs up. We want them to lift up. Well, that's the next step. So right now we have the sliding going on, but that's okay. We're going to correct that. And here's how to do it. I'm going to go back to frame 0, frame 1, and I'm going to scrub my timeline. And I'm going to start with my left leg. So my left leg, anytime in between these two keyframes that my left leg moves, I am going to I'm going to go to the center of those two keyframes, and I'm going to take my move tool, and I'm going to move that leg up in the air and press S. Okay, so now the next one, notice my left leg does not move. My right leg moves in that case. So I'm going to skip this. I'm only going to do the left leg first. I'm going to do all the lifts for the left leg first, and then I'm going to do all the lifts for the right leg. So my left leg doesn't move in between these two keyframes, but it moves in between these two keyframes. So this is the one where I'm going to go into the center of those two keyframes, and I'm going to lift the leg up and press S. Let's scrub ahead. The leg doesn't move in between these two keyframes, but it certainly moves here. So I'm going to go in the center. I'm going to move it up and press S. Okay. Next. Actually, I forgot to keyframe that. I'm going to do that again. Press the wrong button. S. Okay. Next. Let's look at the next one. Right here is where it moves. Go into the center. I'm going to move the leg up, and I'm going to press S. All right. Next. Right here. I'm going to move it up. and press S. So, good. So now let's just take a look at what we've done. I'm going to zoom out, come back here. You can see now the left leg comes up, but the right leg is still sliding. So let's go back to 1. We're going to select the right leg now, and every time we see the right leg move, like it's not moving in between these keyframes, but the next one, it's sliding forward. So whenever you see it slide, I'm going to go in between those 2 keyframes, and I'm going to move it up in the air and press S. And let's see, not this one, but the following one right here. Go to the center, move it up, press S. Great. Right here is where it slides. Move it up, S. Do this quick. The next one right here is where it's sliding. I'm going to move the right leg up and S. And that's the last one. Okay, so let's take a look now in our perspective view. See what we get. Go back to 1. And let's just see if he walks correctly. Now press play. Okay. Now if your Mech is walking way too fast, down over here, down in the bottom right, there's an icon next to the key of a running man. If you click on that, you can, if your Mech is walking very fast, you might be on this drop down called play every frame. I want you to be on real time, 24 frames per second, and you'll get a more realistic looking paced walk. So let's go real time. I'll save that. Okay. So you can see I have a walking Mech with this technique of a square, and that the square is great because it's only a spline. It will not render. When you press render and you render as a batch, this will not render out, so it will not be there. But that's how to make a walk sequence with the Mech. Typically when I get to the end of my journey, sometimes I add a few more frames here. I might want to add 50 frames, so I'm going to type 350 instead. And with this 50 frames, I can go to 50, and I can select my Mech from the parent joint right here in the center. And this is kind of where I like to show off the Mech a little bit. So I can make a turn, or maybe 300 is where he stops walking, and maybe 320 turns to the left, and I'm going to press S, and then maybe at 350 is going to turn a little bit this way, maybe looking up, and press S, and you can have a little bit of fun with that Mech. Okay, great. Now how would I turn this into a, well, you can watch my next video on how to convert this into a movie file where we'll render out a batch render of images to be opened up in QuickTime Pro, where we can convert it into a QuickTime movie, so you can watch that video coming soon. But I hope you've enjoyed how to create a walk sequence with your Mech, and good luck, and give it a try.